Have got some epic net Armageddon, a 4,000 point battle report between my Biel-Tan Eldar and my friend's Imperial Fist. He'll be running the Horus Heresy version of the Legion's Astartes that he's running as Imperial Fists. Let's get going. But before we do that, if you can like, subscribe, and comment, appreciate everyone helping me to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to be doing some more OPR, some net Armageddon. I've got a few things lined up. But before that, let's get into the prologue. In the shattered reaches of the galaxy, where the embers of ancient civilization still flicker against the encroaching void, two formidable forces prepare to clash upon the desolate ruins of a forsaken world. Here, amidst the remnants of forgotten glory, the Biel-Tan Eldar, guardians of their dying craft world, have descended. Their ethereal forms glide through the mists of fate, each step a whispered defiance against borrowed time. The Aspect Warrior war host is led by Laheth, a fierce autarch whose eyes burn with the fire of vengeance. She is the embodiment of the Eldar's determination to reclaim their lost heritage. Their presence on the battlefield is a spectacle of speed and precision. Opposing her stands the stalwart Bastion commander, the Lycad of the Imperial Fist, resolute as the ancient fortresses of Terra. Clad in gold and yellow armor of their chapter, these Space Marines embody the unyielding will of the Emperor. Each warrior is a living testament to humanity's struggle against the darkness. They have come to cleanse the taint of the Xenos scum, to ensure that the light of the Imperium prevails. Their stoic loading of their bolters whisper promises of death, and the ground trembles beneath the weight of their relentless advance. As the sun sinks below the horizon, casting the battlefield into a twilight of foreboding shadows, the air thickens with tension. The howling banshee war songs rise like mournful echoes, a stark contrast to the grim silence of the Imperial Fists, who prepare to unleash their fury upon the encroaching tide of Eldar elegance. The long-abandoned city streets will soon be stained anew. For this battle, it's a 4,000 point battle. We'll be running the standard 3-turn game. If it's a tie, it will continue on. 3 objectives for each player. There's also a blitz objective in the back. The secondaries are breaking the spirit, which is to kill the most expensive unit on the side, and also a line breaker to get an unfleeing unit into the deployment zone of the opponent. For the army lists, first on, we've got the Imperial Fists running as the Horus Heresy Legion Astartes, a Breacher squad. We've also got a Terminators as well, 2 of them. We've got one of them that will be running with a Whirlwind Hyperios to have some anti-tank and anti-air support. They'll be running in 3 Spartans. The other Terminators will be teleporting in as well. These are 2 6-man Terminators, followed by a 4-man Whirlwind squad. He'll be running a 6-man Land Raider Phobos squadron. That's going to be very difficult to deal with. A 4-man Predator Strike Squadron, partially with Predator Cannon and partially with Last Cannons. A 4-man Sakaran Battle Squadron, and finally, the thing that is the most scary, 3 Fellblade Super Tanks, all in one thing, and an Interceptor Attack Wing, his Xiphons. Just looking at them as well, going through the links, we've got the Breacher Squad running with a 3-up armor. That's going to be nasty with Armor Bane and Lance in contact assault weapons. This is a pretty nasty squad. The 2 Terminators, we know them always to be really nasty. 3 4-up reinforced armor, 3-up close combat, 3-up firefight, especially with the macro weapon Power Fist as well, all with the Reaper auto cannon as well. The Whirlwinds as well are just mainly running the Hyperios with the Spartans they'll be running, and the Hyperios will be supporting some anti-air and anti-tank indirect fire support. He's also running his 3 Spartans, which have always, their quad Last Cannons and their heavy bolters as well. This one squad running, over 900 points is just an absolutely nasty thing. The 4 Whirlwinds, the 4 Whirlwinds would be running a 3 Blast Point Ignores cover with a 90 centimeter indirect fire along with Ignores cover. Continuing on, the 6-man Land Raider Phobosis is also very intimidating as well. Twin last cannons and heavy bolters, along with a 4-up reinforced army. A lot of his army has got reinforced armor as well, and then just 4-ups as well. These are Marines. The 2 Predators, one of which is slightly more anti-personnel with the heavy bolters. The other one is slightly more anti-tank with his last cannons as well. Still a 4-up armor, although not reinforced. His other 4-man Sakaran squad, the Accelerator autocannon along with the heavy bolters, is a slightly more anti-personnel unit. Finishing off is probably the thing that's going to give the Eldar the most trouble, the Fell Blades. A Fell Blade cannon that is running a Titan Killer, anti-tank, anti-personnel, macro weapon Titan Killer, 2 quad last cannons, that's 4 shots apiece, the 2 heavy bolter, and the Demolisher cannon that ignores cover as well, along with the Disrupt as well into this cannon. This thing has a damage capacity of 4, if that isn't something as well, along with a firefight in close combat is 5. A 4-up armor along with reinforced armor make the Fell Blades probably the most intimidating thing into the Imperial Fists. Lastly, finishing off with a 2-man squad of Typhon Interceptors, twin lasses along with a rotary missile launcher. These are primarily going to be used as anti-tanks. Just looking at the squadron, it is very small but very potent. The 2 Terminator squads are in the back, along with the Breacher squad in the center. On the bottom, we have the Whirlwinds, followed by the Land Raiders. Above that is the vicious 3 Fell Blades. In the center, the Sakarans, the Xiphon fighters, and then, of course, the Spartans running with the Whirlwind anti-air support that are carrying the Breacher. They're carrying the Terminator squad. For the Eldar, it will be running a Aspect Warrior host, 4 of them. The first of which is going to have actually 5 Howling Banshees, 3 Striking Scorpions with the Autarch and Wave Serpents, followed by another Aspect Warrior squad that's going to be running 5 Dire Avengers and Striking Scorpions and 4 and a Wave Serpent. The Guardian host that's going to be tricked out with 3 support weapons, 3 Wraith Lords, and 3 Wraithguard units that will be containing the Farseers, as well as the support weapon platform unit. A nice beefy unit in the center that will be able to hold objectives and generally tank things, and also just protect the Farseer. Followed by also one of my own super heavies, Engines of Alls, running with triple Scorpions. We've got a Fire Pism troop, 5 of them as well, dedicated anti-tank. A 3-man Night Spinner troop that will be running as generally indirect fire with blast points. We've got a 6-man Falcon unit along with a 6-man Viper unit as well. Just looking at this, well, we've got the Autarch, we've got many of the Aspect Warrior hosts. We've generally got the running on the Wave Serpents. Reinforced armor, one of the rarities over there here today. The Autarch will be lending his macro weapon to the Banshees. The Banshees are, of course, always nasty. First strike with close combat 2-up as well, and infiltrate. They are just a really solid unit. The Striking Scorpions as well will be running in both squads. The Armor 4, along with the Mana Blasters getting an extra attack in hand-to-hand, is going to serve the Scorpions as sort of an ability to have some survivability. And then we have following up the Swooping Hawks. The Swooping Hawks, while only a firefight 4-up, having Scout, Jump Packs, and Teleport, along with a 35-centimeter move, is going to make this unit very maneuverable, able to harass the backline and spread out and just really cause a lot of trouble, even if they don't have a particularly, scary profile with only a firefight 4, and that's it. Following over that, we have the Wave Serpent squad. These are running with the Dire Avengers. The Dire Avengers, as well, protected by the Scorpions that we've already seen in hand-to-hand, are themselves also nasty with an extra attack into firefight range. They generally have the idea of having the Scorpions go and engage in close combat with tanking the damage, along with the Dire Avengers able to just firefight with 2 attacks apiece. Following, we have an 8-man Shining Spear. This is basically a dedicated, maneuverable anti-heavy tank. With having the Lance special, they can basically ignore reinforced armor. And a 4-up armor themselves, the Shining Spears are going to be dedicated, generally heavy tanks, heavy vehicle killers. Continuing on the Guardian Warhost, we've got the support weapon platforms, which generally speaking have that 5-up macro weapon. The 30-inch range is going to provide some level of short-range firepower. 3 Wraith Lords as well with the Fearless, the 4-up reinforced armor, as well as just a macro weapon in hand-to-hand and a 5-up lance shot as well. Wraith Lords and the Wraith Guard, both of which are going to be providing some nice stability in the army with the reinforced armor, the 4-ups, and the macro weapons in hand-to-hand. All of this is going to be doing is protecting the Farseer as well. The Farseer as well, just generally speaking, will providing an extra macro weapon along with his Farsight ability as well. And then, of course, the Guardians, which are generally speaking with no armor, going to be pretty squishy. Continuing on, we've got one of my most important units, the Scorpions, generally a double attacking 2 macro weapon along with reinforced armor as well. This is going to be, generally speaking, a really solid unit with a 2-up, 2-shot apiece. That's 6 2-up macro weapon shots. A Fire Prism unit is also going to be running here, generally a dedicated anti-tank. Also with, although not a macro weapon, it's generally an anti-armor, having the Lance special rule, able to ignore reinforced armor. The Night Spitter unit is an anti-infantry tool. It's going to have 3 blast points as well at a 90 centimeter range whenever they do indirect fire. Continuing along, we have the 6-man Falcon unit. The Falcons are going to be generally a good, if you would call them sort of a mid-range unit at 45 and 30, 35 being packed. They don't have any transports in them as well. They're just going to be a solid sort of mid-range unit that can sort of do a lot. They're anti-tank, they're anti-personnel. Following as well, we have one of the fastest units in here, the Viper jet bikes as well. Although they don't have particularly, a lot of firepower with only a single, scatter laser apiece, they do have a 35 centimeter range and a 4-up armor as well. It's going to make these Vipers, even if they're light vehicles, really good at taking objectives. Just looking at my Guardian host, you'll note on the back here I do have the Night Spinners. I'm actually getting those printed up. That's one of the last thing I need. Below them is the Fire Prisms, the 6-man Falcon squad along with the 3 Scorpions, and then below them is going to be the Vipers as well. That's just showing up the tanks as well. You can just sort of see. Continuing on into the center, the Vipers along with the Avatar that I can bring up. My Farseer is running up the center along with the Guardians, the heavy weapon platforms, the support weapon platforms, the Wraith Guard, and the Wraith Lord. On the other side of the field, we've got these 8-man Shining Spears, and we've got the 8-man Swooping Hawks. You'll also notice here I did pay for a Warp Gate as well, so that is also included. I'll be replacing one of my objectives. Lastly, we just have the 2 squads. We have the Dire Avenger Aspect Warrior squad running in Wave Serpents, and then we have the Banshee squad with my Autarch who will be running in the other Wave Serpent squad. For the setup, in looking at the setup, we can see here the black objectives on the crates are going to be his. We basically kept all the objectives pretty close. My 3, I have one on the very far right here. He didn't commit one over here. He knows that I have speed. I also put one right in the center, and he also put his in the center as well. On the other side of the field, again, to the far left, this is where I put one of mine. I will be replacing this one with my Warp Gate, and then he placed his as well. So having this Warp Gate is also going to allow me to protect this side as well. This here, he's actually got 2 objectives right here. So the Imperial Fist is really want to get here. So by replacing a Warp Gate here, I'll be able to really just protect this area, which is going to have a lot of objectives very close. Just sort of seeing how I'll show you here today. These are our 2 Blitz objectives on the top right. And again, just showing you here, this is going to be a very important feature of the war, as he has 2 of his objectives very close to one another. So I'm really going to have to protect this area. That's just some more pictures of the center of the battlefield, where we have the other 2 objectives. On the setup here, as you can see, this is going to be a very important one. Here is my Warp Gate that I've replaced for one of my objectives. I've kept the Shining Spears and the Swooping Hawks in reserve. So my Shining Spears can use this Warp Gate, as well as the Swooping Hawks as well. But in here, I've got this Avenger is actually in the Wave Serpent. It's just to notate what's in there. I've got a Wave Serpent squad. Here are my Night Spinners, and then backed up by that Falcon squad as well. So I'm certainly committing a lot of my forces here. Towards the center as well, so this is just my Warp Gate that I just wanted to show here. Towards the center, I have my big squad with the Guardians, Farseer. On the left is flanking the Wraith Lords, and on the right is flanking the Wraith Guard. I just need, this unit is very tough and generally pretty beefy for Eldar to be able to go up the center. He did also go ahead and garrison his breachers in the center, so he's right there protecting that objective. Right behind them is my Scorpions. Here's my Blitz objective. To the right of them, I've got my Banshees actually on this side. And then to the left, I have got my, we did alternate deployments here. So I also ended up seeing where he put his tanks, and I put my my Fire Prisms. And on the far right, just by themselves here, with really nothing to contest here, I have my Viper Squadron here. The Vipers are very good. They're not going to be able to handle a lot, but it's sort of forcing him to commit something in this area, or he's just going to give up this objective for free. Just sort of continuing, that's showing his breacher squad that he did garrison over here. Towards his side, we can see here are the Spartans and the Terminators over here. His other Terminator squad is going to be teleporting in. Towards the center, here is his breacher objective. He's got his Fell Blades right here. Towards the left of the Fell Blades on my side, we've got the Land Raider Phoboses, and then here we've got the Sakarans running here. That's just showing his side. Here are the Spartans backed up by his Whirlwind anti-air and anti-tank. Here are the 4 Predators running here. Towards the center here, we can see here are the Fellblades. So here is his primary objective here. And you can see here, he's going to be pushing up the center. These Fellblades are going to be really nasty. And just behind here, being very protected, is these Whirlwinds who have that indirect fire. Just sort of showing here on his right flank, you can see he didn't commit anything. He knows that I have my Vipers here, so he's basically given this flank up for now, we should say. Just sort of looking at the battlefield, you can see we've primarily committed a lot of our resources already to this theater of war, whereas the top of the field only has the Vipers, and you can't even see the Vipers, they're sort here. You can see here we've had our 2 center masses with our 2 heavy tanks actually sort of lining up to each other. That's just another picture here with the warp gate here, and you can just sort of see I've got a lot of maneuverability in the center, but I've also committed one of my Aspect Warrior squads, my Falcons, and I have my Night Spitters all committed here. On his side as well, he's committed his Terminators. This may not seem like a lot, but these Terminators and these Spartans as well are pretty nasty. And of course, he's got his Land Raiders backing up the center. Turn 1, the Imperial Fists do get to go first. They have an extra strategy rating for me. The first thing he did is he knows I have pop-up attacks. He wants to play defensive. He doesn't want to just give me free pop-up attacks. So he actually just put his Siphon Interceptors into Overwatch to sort of keep me off the ground so I can't be doing pop-up attacks. On response to that, I just sort of play a little passive and actually just do a sustained fire on my Night Spinners, and they shoot on their 90 degrees into the breachers. I don't really do a lot of damage, but with the disrupt, I'm able to put a few blast markers on those breachers. Those breachers with the 3-up armor as well are just, you know, I think I didn't even do, I hit him 4 times and doing a single damage. He goes ahead and just brings up his Land Raiders here. They're able to, I don't think they were in range. And this is the advantage of hit and run. I'm actually able to do a double time. I bring up my fire prisms, I'm able to shoot him, and then using the Eldar hit and run tactics, I'm actually able to move out of cover here. So I do shoot him. I actually don't do any damage. It was basically hitting on 4s. He was in cover, as well as I was double timing, so I only hit a couple times, and he was able to save his armor. But I was able to put a blast point onto those Land Raiders. He just goes ahead and doubles up his Whirlwinds just to get them in position. He knows he's probably not going to be in range this time. At this point, I go ahead and just move up here towards the center, trying to get here. I take some shots into his breachers, but basically everyone misses, although I did actually put another blast point on there. At this point, the Sakarans, you'll see them in a second. They do double time up and they shoot. Everything misses, but again, I do gain a blast point for just getting shot at. In response to that, I do the hit and run on my Vipers. They move up. So remember, I'm getting a -1 to hit, but a 2-up goes to the 3-up. I'm able to shoot with 6 macros. I actually kill 2 Sakarans. Again, with those macros, they don't get their reinforced armor. These are the 2 Sakarans that shot at those Guardians, but missed. And then again, I'm able to hit and run. So I moved up 25 centimeters, shot those Sakarans, and then was able to actually reposition back into cover. These Vipers, while here, they're not particular. They're only a damage capacity 3 and a 5-up reinforced armor. So they're not, they are sort of squishy even for a heavy tank. Speaking of heavy tanks, these are not squishy. These move up. Even at double, they're able to shoot the Guardians and do a massive amount of damage. They're able to kill 2 of the Wraith Lords, kill several of the Guardians, and actually put on, I think they end up doing 3. Actually, I could have been worse, but he did double time as well. Still, I've lost just 2 of my Wraith Lords as well, which is a lot of punching to the squad as well. I actually seeing the damage that the Guardians took. The Vipers actually rolled a 1 and failed their initiative, so all they were able to do is just move up regularly. I was really hoping to be able to double time and just shoot at the Sakarans. All I needed to do was just hit the Sakarans, and I would have broke them. But I rolled the 1, so I wasn't able to do that, so that happened there. Here he just goes ahead and just doubles up his. So here's his warp gate. He's just sort of saying he's going to tank the damage, and this is a lot of damage. You know, these are Terminators. This is all 4-up reinforced armor. He's actually able to move up, and he shoots at those fire prisms. So this is just him. He was able to dub it, and he shoots at one of the fire prisms, kills one of them, and so I get a blast point as well for being undershot and losing one of my fire prisms. I just go ahead and I advance up into my Falcons. I actually shoot at the Falcons and the Spartans. I think I don't kill a single Terminator, and I manage to only put 1 damage apiece on these Spartans. So, you know, it's very difficult with a 4-up armor and reinforced to just actually kill anything in this squad here. So, yeah, but you know, my view is I just have to continue to just, that's how you defeat a unit like this, is just by pumping constant firepower. He just goes ahead and doubles up, and he's able to shoot my Falcons. He actually kills one of them as well. So for here in the warp gate, this is just showing the Falcons that took 1 damage from these Predators. So in this warp gate, I'm actually move out and I'm able to charge and engage these Predators. I'm moving on the other side. I don't want to give him a firefight supporting from the Terminators, so I have them come around and attack this side as well. They managed to kill 2 of those Predators, and through combat resolution, kill the other 2. After I've won combat with a hit and run, I'm able to basically consolidate back behind the buildings, my 35. That's the real advantage of these Shining Spears. If they win combat, a lot like those Vipers and a lot like the Banshees and the Swooping Hawks, they're able to basically consolidate their full move of 35. So these Shining Spears were able to just completely go around the building to protect themselves. The Breachers, having sustained several blast markers, just went ahead and just marshaled. They didn't want to move out of the building, and they were protecting here, so they just went ahead and just marshaled and removed some of the blast markers on them. I brought up my other Aspect Warrior squad with the Striking Scorpions and the Avengers. They basically got out in cover. I was able to actually shoot. I had a couple of anti-personnels. I shot into the Terminators, but I basically didn't wound them. But again, I'm just putting more blast markers on those Terminators. And that's the key thing. Yeah, I didn't kill any Terminators, but I just, you know, I'm just putting blast markers on him. Saying that he didn't have anything to counter, actually just triple moved. So remember, that's the thing about Eldar that makes them very powerful. With a 35 centimeter base, I was able to basically move almost like 100, centimeters from the center of the board. I was able to move over here and deploy my Banshees and my Scorpions right in range so that I can assault these Terminators next round. That's just a recap as well. As you can kind of see the power of the maneuverability of the Eldar, whereas I had a lot of units, especially this was actually in the center right of the board, I was able to basically commit a lot of forces on this side here. And you could just really see where all these forces are. I actually had a really bit of luck because these are within 15. He actually rolled a 1 and wasn't able to recover any blast markers. That was actually definitely a lucky on my part, that he normally is a 1-up initiative able to automatically remove them, but it goes to a 2-up and he rolled a 1, so he wasn't able to remove any blast markers. That's actually a very big deal for me. Just towards the center, you can see here, the center is actually doing very good. He's managed to push up, managed to heavily damage my Gargants. I was able to remove some blast markers from them, but as you can kind of see, his center push is looking pretty mean. Towards the right here, you can just see I just have basically only my Vipers here. His Sicarans have taken some damage, but as you can see, that center push is looking pretty nasty. That's just the picture here, and as you can kind of see, these Fell Blades are just, they're going to be very difficult to deal with. Just towards the center here, you can just see here, and again, these Banshees move straight from the right all the way here to commit to here. Turn 2, another big roll, but the Imperial Flists do get to go right again. We are now dropping our teleports. I go ahead and I just drop my Swooping Hawks. Remember, these Swooping Hawks have Scout, so I'm able to really just spread out and just cover and threaten a lot of areas. They also have a 35 centimeter move. I did take 2 blast markers on through. He also himself actually chose to, I think he really did not like these Scorpions, so he actually chose to just drop his Terminator squad here. He did take a blast marker here, but he's able to then go first, and he charges these, The thing is that because I'm a skimmer, he can't attack me in close combat. So Terminators aren't able to get that. They're only able to get their Power Fist. They're simply stuck to their 3-up firefight. Luckily, he actually rolled really bad, and I rolled great. Remember, these were damage capacity 3 on 5, so actually this is 9 attacks. I think I rolled like 5 or 6, and with reinforced armor, his armor rolls were actually terrible. And actually, he only caused 1 wound on me, and I caused 3 on these Terminators. So I really should have lost this. This is just disastrous rolls. But granted, you can also just see how powerful it is attacking heavy tanks with multiple damage capacity. You know, that is still, 9 firefights at 5 ups. Although he did just roll terrible here. But with that, his Terminators are actually broken. This is actually a huge thing that he wasn't able to. I think he was hoping to just break those. He was hoping to just kill and break those Scorpions. So it failed. At this point, my Scorpions won the assault. They're actually able to consolidate and move up 25 centimeters up. He went ahead and just retained the initiative and just sent his Xiphon fighters in there. Again, he rolled okay and managed to only put on a single wound. So I'm actually having some luck. These Scorpions have been very lucky in not only surviving those Terminators, but then having some Xiphon fighters come in with last cannons and missile launchers, and I only took 1 damage. Again, it's a 5-up reinforced armor, but I think I probably should have lost one by now. At this point, I really need these Terminators to die. I actually, it's not shown, but I had the Falcons actually sustain into these Terminators. I managed to actually kill 2 of the Terminators from those Falcons. You'll see later. They went ahead and sustained. They did a couple damage on the Spartans, but at that point, I retained the initiative and I charged in. And here, this is where these Banshees coming in with their first strike, coming in with their 2-ups, along with my Autarch coming in. I actually managed to just kill 2 Terminators before they were able to attack, and that is huge. These Terminators are basically, macro weapon, extra attack. That's on a 3-up. Each of these Terminators would get, 2 attacks on a 3-up that are macro weapon. So the fact that I was able to kill 2 of these Terminators is huge. At the end of the day, I managed to actually break him, and I killed. I won combat, and he, through combat resolution, lost. So he actually only had a single Spartan left that fled. Here, I was able to just consolidate into these buildings. And as you can kind of see here, with those Terminators gone, here I'm actually threatening his flank. Here's his Land Raiders, and actually here are his Fellblades as well. That's actually a big deal that actually I was able to just, with some luck, my center held, and then I was able to just crush the left flank, and now I'm threatening his flank. And here you can see, here are those Swooping Hawks. Here, they're just basically being annoying. Here are the 2 blast markers I took over. Things didn't go well for me, however. He did go ahead and sustain into my Guardian squad. Just absolutely rolled great. Blew the absolute mess out of him. You can see I lost about 4 Guardians and a Wraith Lord. So, yeah, they have 8 blast markers. They broke. So, from the center of the field, these guys actually fled to my objective here. So the Guardians did lose a lot. At this point, I just send in my Swooping Hawks. I know this firefight and these close combats aren't great on these tanks, so I just go ahead and go and actually managed. I only do 1 wound, but just with combat res, I actually was able to win combat and I break them. I think he loses like 1 more, but the key thing is that I actually break these Land Raiders with these Swooping Hawks. That is a big deal. These Land Raiders have a lot of firepower as well, so that's a pretty big deal. At this point, these Swooping Hawks, they do consolidate back into those buildings. That being said, I didn't picture it. I lost some pictures, but actually the Hawks' victory was pretty short because these Fellblades move up and they shoot into these Swooping Hawks and just murder them. I think they kill 5 out of the 8. So the Swooping Hawks you're going to see later on, they just break. We missed some pictures, but yeah, these Fellblades, they move up and they just shoot these Hawks and just blow them up. At this point as well, I'm trying to pressure his center objective. This is worth 2 victory points. So I just triple move. Remember, these guys are able to, they embark and then disembark at the same time. So they embark, triple move, and then they actually disembark in these buildings right behind here. So as well, and then the other thing I do is I actually triple move. These Shining Spears move 105 centimeters. They also triple move and they threaten these. Again, I'm basically doing, I have all these units that I need to start throwing into these Fellblades. The other thing is actually these fire prisms, they double move, and they actually shoot into the Fellblades, and they do like, I think 2 or 3 wounds onto those Fellblades. So those Fellblades, you know, it's something. At this point, these Sicarans, they actually invest and they double move. They shoot into these Vipers, and they manage to kill one of them. The Vipers, unless they're, you know, they actually have a 4-up armor, which is pretty good. Granted, they are light vehicles. So, you know, these Sicarans are doing pretty good shooting them because they're light vehicles. But actually, the Vipers then return fire, shoot. Remember, these Vipers, they're basically returning on 4s. 2 are suppressed, but I just have 3 shooting. I managed to kill Sicaran and actually break that Sicaran. So that's just showing those broken. This is also showing those Land Raiders that, as you can see, the Swooping Hawks are gone. They fled to the right, but these are these Land Raiders that also fled. And here is the Sicaran that has also fled as well. It's a very big deal. This is just showing the recap here. Here are the Vipers that have managed to hold out. Here's the Xiphon fighters as well. And yeah, here are these Terminators. The Terminators did rally, so that's something. And then here as well. And this is just showing the center. And as you can kind of see with these flanks going, and here is this one lone Spartan. And you can see here are the Fellblades, and they shot at these Swooping Hawks there. I think there's only a few of them left. I think I forgot to remove some of the models, but yeah, as you can see, it's just a truckload of these guys fled. But you know, I had the Avengers and the Spears come from this way, so now they're in the backfield, and here are these Fellblades. But they also have these Breachers, and again, these Fellblades are just absolutely nasty. You know, damage capacity 4-up as well. And again, here's the Banshee squad as well. One of the things that wasn't shown is actually the Night Spinners continue to shoot. They put some more blast markers into... Remember, I'm not doing a lot of damage into these Breachers because they have that 3-up armor, but I am able, through Disrupt, just to put some blast markers on them. So that's helping. This is just showing the backfield as well, how I've basically brought on my Avengers, brought on the Spears, and here is the Fire Prisms that also did some damage to those Fellblades. That's just the picture as well. And as you can kind of see here, this bottom flank is gone now, and now I'm able to start just repositioning behind the Imperial Fists. Another thing that's pretty bad though, bad on my end though, I actually failed to rally. Remember, these guys should have rallied and protected my center objective. So these Guardians actually fail their morale, and they run away from the center objective. Now these guys have like 8. So that's a very big deal. This is a huge squad that I've lost, and I really needed them to rally this turn. Turn 3, however, I do get the roll to go first, and that is a big deal. I went ahead, and I know that these things are just so nasty. I want to just kill them, so I actually just charge into them with these lances. But I roll bad. I think I only hit like 1 or 2 times, and he actually just saved. He also, each of these are doing fire. It's just like my heavy tanks. These things are all firefighting for. He's got like 10 5-up, and he also has like 3 of these Breachers that are able to do supporting fire. So actually, I lose like 5. Yeah, I lose 5 Shining Spears. So they break. Actually, the Fire Prisms, by supporting it, they take a blast marker as well because I was doing some supporting fire. So the Fire Prisms take a blast marker, and my 3 remaining Spears, yeah, they just flee. So actually, disaster continues. I didn't take a picture here, but the score, I really wanted those. I really wanted to kill the Fellblades, so I actually tried to retain the initiative with my Scorpions, but they failed. So my Scorpions don't attack this round, and they get a blast marker. So it's just, this is a disaster here. Having these Spears just completely do nothing, and then having my Scorpions fail to retain the initiative. Oh, it's huge. Luckily, he rolled bad too, and he wanted to do a sustain and shoot something, but because I was close enough to him, he rolled a 1. So it's bad rolls on both sides. This, you know, I had some bad rolls. He was hoping to swing it back in his favor, but then he had bad rolls as well. So I think he was actually hoping to retain, but just bad rolls. At this point, I went ahead and just marshaled my Fire Prisms. They already hit on 1. I removed one of those blast markers, and I shot him with 3 Fire Prisms. I did some damage. Yeah, I think I did like 1 or 2 damage. And as you can see, I'm actually starting to like pile on I've done I've put so much damage into these fell blades. At this point, I go ahead and I charge with my other aspect warriors. So I send in the scorpions. Some of the Avengers are able to firefight. The wave serpents are firefighting, and also I try to add this in. I actually am able to do enough damage, and I actually win combat with these. Remember, I outnumber him crazy amounts. So and he has blast markers. This squad didn't have blast markers. So just through sheer force of weight, I actually was able to beat these fell blades. That's a huge deal to actually be able to take out these fell blades just through combat resolution. So I killed the fell blades and then they consolidate back. At this point, these breachers, losing those fell blades was probably a tough part of the game. He's just really trying to win the game. He sends in his breachers. They attack and they kill these fire prisms, and then they're just consolidating. Those breachers are sort of meant to kill vehicles. At this point, I just double move. Remember, this is turn 3. So I just move behind the building, and I'm just basically contesting this objective within 50 centimeters. So these Vipers have just done so much work. Even though they haven't done a lot, they just basically can grab a free objective. At this point, he sends his Typhons in. He really doesn't want these Banshees to go. He kills a couple of Wave Serpents, but I still do manage to just hold here. So I think I have like 5 or 6 aspect warriors left, and then he kills one of my Wave Serpents. But these guys don't break, so that's good. At this point, so remember, I did rally my Swooping Hawks. I fail their initiative, so all they can do is single move. Luckily, I'm able to single move up to the objective on my side, so I actually grab this objective that I needed to. At this point, however, his single Spartan moves up, shoots these guys, does 1 wound, and breaks these Swooping Hawks. So I actually lose that objective. This Swooping Hawk squad basically flee off the objective here. So I go ahead and I sustain. So the good thing now, those breachers aren't in cover anymore. So I shoot those breachers. I kill a few of them, but I stack on the blast markers. Again, 2 for 1 on Marines. I'm actually finally able to break these breachers because they weren't in cover anymore. At this point, yeah, these Land Raiders, they go ahead and sustain. They sustain into the second aspect warrior squad with the Dire Avengers. Yeah, they just shoot them. They heavily damage them, and they actually break them. So this is showing the Avengers and the Scorpions, and yeah, so this squad is broken. So I lose that objective as well. I was trying to grab his back objective, so they're gone as well. At this point, yeah, so this is just showing, they're everyone is just sort of fleeing. So I'm trying to grab his objective, but he's just shooting me off his objective. Luckily, the Autarch was able to pass. Remember, he had 3 blast markers. I was able to pass it, and I was able to double time, and I was able to grab his back objective. And at this point, this was basically the end of the game. He needed a 3-up to basically double move and grab my objective, but he failed. I think he rolled a 1, and we're just showing here, he was barely outside of range to grab my center. And that was basically the game. With the Terminators not able to grab my center, with his center, I was able to win 2-1. That's just showing some recaps here. And as you can just see, it's been a real bloodbath. I mean, I really just have one of my Aspect Warrior squads that are actually not wavered. All of my Aspect Warriors on here have all broken. So it's just a lot of broken squads as well here. We didn't finish off the game, but you can see here, fleeing, and I have my Swooping Hawks are fleeing, and here's so all my Aspect Warriors are fleeing. Yeah, that's just, so here's my fleeing Super Hawks, here's the fleeing Shining Spears, the fleeing Guard, it's all just fleeing. Yeah, and here's my, this is the hold objective. Remember those Scorpions, I didn't retain, so they just basically held. And yeah, and here's just the heartbreak. We probably would have went to turn 4, but him failing to move. Initiative is such a big deal in this game. It's a 2-1 victory, a very close game for the Eldar. Oh man, Space Marines, they're so tough. I faced them before. Eldar, you can hit hard, but as you can see, the moment those Eldar start taking casualties, they start fleeing. So even though Eldar are just a traditional glass cannon, just some learning points. Those fell blades, Oh, and they're they're relatively inexpensive. They are just so good though, and they're so hard and difficult. Actually, Swooping Hawks did a lot of good. Even though they were broken by those fell blades could have shot something else. So those Swooping Hawks, I always say it was a victory in that they forced the fail blades to shoot at them. The Howling Banshees are just so good with their 2+ first strike. You do need to protect them. Indirect barrage weapons were just deadly on both sides. My Guardians got blown apart. I didn't it took about 3 turns, but those breachers, I didn't kill them, but I was managed to always just stack on those blacks markers. Hey, that Eldar speed, as you can see, it allows me to just reposition and quickly overwhelm one point and then sort of reposition somewhere else. The hit and run tactics is also really great with the Fire Prism Scorpions, where I can double move, shoot, and then move again. It's just a really big deal about just plinking down. Hey, but also those Terminators and those Spartans, you can just see he has so many less models than me, but it's just so difficult to kill him. Hey, thanks for watching. Would always love feedback. Like, subscribe, and comment. I'm going to be doing more OPR, but also fitting in some Epic. Man, this game is so good. Hey, send me your army lists and your customers. Would love to see them. Thanks so much.